Welcome, everyone. You found your way to the sacred wisdom circle, linked by the golden thread. We are lighthouses, beacons of truth guiding the way. Through deep conversations and shared wisdom, we'll illuminate the path and heal through truth. So, welcome again, everybody. So happy to see you here.
Welcome, welcome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yay. Can't believe that it's Friday already. It feels like yesterday that we were chatting last week.
I
The time
know.
just,
I was thinking
just
the same
flies.
thing.
Yeah, it just flies.
What is
So,
new? What's exciting? How's everybody feeling this week?
and just kind of thinking in my head. I've just been out for dinner with a friend, so I'm just kind of getting my landing back into this special space again. So I'm going to defer to you guys first, and then we'll pick up after you've had a chat.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an interesting week. A lot of shifting for people. Energetically for me, it's been kind of on a high. I've been very, very busy, accomplished a lot of things, but there is major shifting happening. And just by the nature of clients, I'm not as busy with the one-on-ones, but the ones that I'm having that are coming in, that they're almost like hitting breaking points. I like to say breakthroughs, not breakdowns. And it's, you can see it's like people are hitting walls and hitting their shadow side to the nth degree. But it's all about transformation and growth, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it feels like manifestation energy like that is moving again. We talked about this a little bit last week around the fast pace of things. For me, the same this week. It's been this unfolding that's been happening fairly quickly. Like you said, not so much with it, like working one on one with clients and stuff like that at this moment, but what I'm creating is unfolding rather quickly. And it's just like you said, it's like, oh my gosh, it's Friday already. Like it feels like time is just flying at this point. And again, we know time is a construct of what we believe and what we see and feel in the reality, right? So it's
Yeah,
interesting what's unfolded.
time is bending. It's not the same as
Mhm.
what it used to be, and part of that this week, I've had a really incredible week in terms of being in flow this week.
Mm.
Um, Working a bit more in the corporate space with a co-creator. We've been doing some amazing work, and it's just flowed so easily and so quickly. But there's another huge shift that happened for me personally this week, and that was I was doing some journaling, and what was coming up was the law of resonance, and how being able to cast my mind back through my life in patterns of my own patterns of where I would get involved in relationships and like pushing a boulder up a hill and wondering why things weren't working. I was friendships, whether it was a romantic relationship, whether it was work relationship, didn't matter because the pattern was the same. And getting involved in these connections and wondering why things didn't work. And because they didn't work, I would work harder and I would do more. And I would go into that looping over and over and over again. And what actually came out this week, which was really insightful, and particularly around my relationships with my family, my sister in particular, was the fact that our energies were not resonating with one another. And when we're not aware and conscious, we don't understand that or see that. And I turned it in on myself. There must have been something wrong with me. I wasn't good enough. I didn't matter. I'm not enough. All of the, the litany of that over and over and over, like a stuck record. And what I got to see this week, that it had nothing to do with me at all. And it's not just about, the story and the obsession around the story. It's just the lack of awareness. And that's what I'm starting to experience with a number of people in the space that I'm connecting with, is that their awareness is starting to become so much stronger, in terms of who they are, for me, myself, who I am and how I show up in the world, but also for them in terms of being able to pick up on patterns that are not working anymore. And so as we're moving in resonance and moving upward, as we talk about quite often, our resonance changes, and that's part of the letting go of those energies and vibrations that no longer connect with who we are and how we're resonating. So I'll stop there, but that was my major big insight for the week.
And
Mm.
that is so true. When we can come to that understanding fully, there's a freedom. All of a sudden, we're not having to worry about controlling the outcome or taking things so personally. And, been teaching that for a long time. And it really is just about energy. We get caught up in this human story as though it's the be all and end all. But take a step back. It's just, you know what? You're not aligned anymore, and it falls away if we allow it to fall away, because that's where we want to work so hard from the old construct of I have to make this work, I have to have this connection, that attachment. And
Yeah.
everything's energy, relationships ebb and flow just like everything else ebbs and flows. And I think that's awesome, Angela, and there is
Oh,
a freedom in it.
yeah. And not only freedom for me, there's also the freedom from the people that we're enmeshed with or attached to, because that lets them go to walk their own path as well,
Mhm.
without any of the rancor or judgment that comes with us when we're not, yeah, being stuck in the story. And it's a story that I've lived with in terms of my siblings. For my one sibling's sister's passed away, but the other one, it's a story I've lived with my whole life. And being the eldest, which we've also spoken about, eldest children and all of those things, we don't know what we don't know until we get to know what we do know. And that also just releases any sense of judgment, because just as much as I don't know what I don't know, somebody else doesn't know what they don't know either. They also only know what they know, in the same manner as I do. So, and I could just almost somatically feel it fall out of my body. It could just gone.
Ah,
Um,
Mhm.
but it's
okay.
not just the emotional. It's not
No.
just the emotional freedom that comes in. It's also the energetic frequencies in our bodies that also shift and change.
Yeah.
And all this has been part of my downward descent with the business yogi,
Mhm.
into the earth root chakra, and the grounding. Um, and again, I think what's important with this is that it's not about, oh, well, I didn't know anything and now all of a sudden I'm enlightened. It doesn't work like that, because there are many spaces in our lives where we've shown up as enlightened and others where we haven't been, which has been part of our karmic release and the lessons that we've had to learn. So it's not this black and white, I'm all that and then I'm that. It's We're a conglomeration of both of those energies in different times, different spaces, different engagements. I mean, when we're in resonance with people, the relationship flows so easily, like we do here in this environment. And when we're not, it is like pushing a boulder up a hill.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I think for me, the message that came through really loud and clear is being in the spaces of resonance. And for the rest, it's okay. It's actually really okay.
Mhm.
Mm.
It was my week.
That's awesome. And even speaking to some of that too around, like you said, the energies and having the energy fall away. And when we realize like we have we are energy and we are made of energy and surrounded by energy and everything flows. And it's when we realize that energy is part of us, not just as much as our physical and mental health. We talk about like, our those things quite often, at least now, mental health. It never used to always be the mental health, but now there's been a focus on mental health in the last 10, 20 year, or 10 years at least. And now it's the shift into like, we're moving into the energetic space. And like you said, you felt it fall away energetically and emotionally. And this is where it's like, when we realize that we aren't there is more to us than just those other smaller, well, not smaller, they're all equal parts of us. And that we need to take care of ourselves in just the same way. And I think this is a shift that kind of people we're just on the cusp of bringing in, is like the energetic health of that, of like how you actually feel that energy come and go within our bodies, even.
Yes,
Yeah.
energetic health is important,
Hmm.
but when we don't understand it, and again, part of the construct, taking care of all of these other things,
Hmm.
but we're divinely guided to it. And I think that is the thing for people that are listening, is you don't have to go seeking it. It will happen.
Right.
It will show up in various ways, and for different people, it's going to look differently. But energetic health, yeah, really pay attention. Does someone drain you? Right?
Hmm.
Does
Yeah.
someone actually help to lift you up? And we're just talking energetically. We're not even talking with the words that are coming out of someone's mouth,
Exactly.
right? That awareness is huge. And
Mhm.
there is such a thing as people who will be maybe of not the same resonance, the same frequency, who will come into your energy and you will feel zapped because
Mhm.
those people are drawing from your energy and learning to be able to say, is this really aligned with me? And do I want to allow that person to zap me once I'm aware that that's what they're doing? Because then
Exactly.
we can have choice and we can protect ourselves and we can say, you
Yeah.
know what, small doses, so that we're not cutting people out altogether. But we know we don't get involved unless we know we're grounded in who we are and they're not going to be able to zap us.
It was
So,
so funny that you used the phrase that because I had almost this whole physics lesson from the world of spirit this week around like being conduits and being not just the catalysts, but being conductors of energy from the world of spirit. And where we have blockages, just like the energy of electric current, where there's a
Mhm.
blockage, the voltage is short, or the plugs are, like the
yes.
plugging into something that the voltage is too high for. And all of these analogies started coming out. And I kind of go back and going, I now think I understand physics for the first time properly,
Right?
very different level than what I ever did when I learned physics in high
I
school.
I
Um,
know 100% when I go through this, like, started doing this work, I was like, "Man, I wanna go back and learn." Like, if I could go back and retake physics again, I feel like I would be in such a different understanding and, like, interest alone in even just the dynamics of it. But like you said, there's very much, this and I was talking about it the other day. It's like, we did think of it as, like, the spiritual side, and what we do is, like, the woo-woo and whatever, but it's actually, like you said, it's physics, it's physical, like, and tangible stuff. Like, when we have a heart attack, when our heart stops, what do we use to restart the heart, to restart the being?
Electrical current.
Electrical current. So it's such a foundational thing that we are energy, that we don't bridge the gap there. And it seems like, well, one is different than the other. But no, it's like you said, it's like it's the same thing as you walking into a room and you feeling the energy in the room, whether it's a good energy or a bad energy. And we have that innate knowing and understanding within ourselves, but it's whether again you tap into it, you practice it, you really pay attention to it. And the more you do that, the more you notice, like you said, people that drain you, people that bring you up. If you're in a room full of very energetically aligned people, it excites you, it brings you forward, just like we do in these conversations, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
It's so fun to be aware of it.
And it's understanding that prior to the awareness, it's happening. Our intuition is paying attention for a lot of us from a survival place, though,
yep, yep,
right?
yep.
And when we bring it into our conscious awareness, then we can start to, well, go, wait a minute, how can I allow this and give it the permission to help me to move forward with grace and ease? Because we have been taught that everything has to be so difficult. And as we all understand, it's not that difficult. There's a simplicity to it. And it's giving ourselves the permission to actually lean into that. So with the conscious awareness, we're able to do that. But do not think that the energies aren't at work before the awareness comes, because it is in our entire life. It's just once we become aware, we have a different, completely understanding.
And also, I think, Pam, it gets to the point where I think, and again, it's a term that we've used before, but it's something that's becoming more and more profound for me. And that is the fact that what we're doing is remembering. This is not new. Our souls know. And what awakening is about is really remembering. We're not waking into anything new. We're remembering who we are.
Yeah.
That had been hiding behind the veneer of what societal and centuries of societal conditioning have embedded in the human psyche. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just we are remembering.
I often say to people, like, we come into the world with a knowing. We
Mm.
come in with, that collective consciousness, the wisdom. And it's our human experiences that help us to awaken the wisdom that's already there. We're not learning where we're remembering, like you said, it's that whole element. Like, even from a physics standpoint, you already have the wisdom, you already have the knowledge there. And that's why you're able to see it so clearly now, right? This
Mhm.
experience is awakening that knowledge,
Yeah.
which will help you to move forward in teaching other people more from your perspective. I think it's fascinating because we've been taught the exact opposite. You don't know anything because you're a child here and you've got to go through life to know anything. And it's like, no, if only we would listen to our youth,
Right.
there is
Yep.
a lot of wisdom there,
Yep.
especially if it's not been shut out and shut down.
And it's actually quite interesting, and I'm sure for each of one of us, when we reflect back on our lives, and connecting with what you're saying, is that that inner knowing has always been there. We've known, we've felt it in our bodies, and for whatever the reason might be, fear, guilt, shame, whatever, any of those lower level emotions, we shut it down because, and primarily because we want to fit in somewhere, we want to belong somewhere, we want to feel connected somewhere. And so we shut that voice down, and then we wonder why we get into some of the situations with people that we get into. Um, and again, it's coming back to, and I think this is one of the things for me that I'm also so strongly coming through, is that the energy, not only the law of resonance, but also the gift of discernment in terms of how we go about discerning. And you were alluding to that just now, in terms of, walking into a room and picking up the energy straight away before, or connecting with somebody straight away, realizing that something's off. And yet we'll still go and pursue some of those connections with people. And
Right.
at the end of the day, the really remarkable thing about it, and this is how spirit works for us, is that those people are on our path to hold up the mirror for us to see
Yeah.
and experience the lesson that this particular individual is presenting for us.
Mhm.
And so nothing's ever wasted and nothing's ever wrong either.
This is
And
so
the
true.
only way that it doesn't have an impact is if we are in our ego and our pain body thinking we know everything. And I'm like, oh man, I learned years ago, the more I know, the more I know I don't know. It's
Mhm.
just, the information and education and knowledge, like, it's so vast, so vast.
Mm. Um,
Mm.
so good. The other thing I wanted to chat about, I don't know if you guys wanted to transition into something else, but or wanted to continue that conversation, but the other thing I wanted to chat about today was I was talking with a colleague of mine, and this week in Canada, and I think the US as well, in Veterans Day or Remembrance Day. And I was talking with a colleague of mine who ended up with an experience, speaking of energy, when she went to go to the memorial. She ended up having an experience that was like an out of body remembering, either from a past life or some other energy that was in that space where she went, felt herself, and like experienced the battlefield. And just from being in the memorial, like, and being in that energy, and she totally was thrown by the experience because it kind of took her by surprise. It wasn't something she's experienced in that way before, where she literally felt like she, like, closed her eyes to blink, and the next moment she was standing in the mud and the all the rest of the stuff. And she was kind of a little lost and blown away by it. Like, she kinda, it took her aback. So I don't know if you guys have had a similar experience where something like that has happened, where you've had a shift of experiencing reality and had a change in reality just from your own experiences, but she was kind of asking questions about, like, what that experience was and why it happened to her. And so I just thought that'd be a fun conversation to dive into.
From my perspective, what's happening, and I'm seeing a lot with clients, I haven't experienced a huge amount of it. I would say that I have when it comes to unworthiness, like blurred timelines, right?
Yeah.
And the veils are thinning between the timelines. So, talking with people and working with people who are extremely gifted, I am seeing and hearing their stories are very much not just about the present day life, but very much about past lives. And being shown things that it can be very unnerving, but it's just blurred timelines. It's a gift, but when you have not experienced it, it can be quite frightening and unnerving. So I'm glad she had you to speak to, Alana, in regards to that as well. So for anybody who may be experiencing things, that reach out to somebody who has an understanding of that aspect of being able to cross those timelines, because if you talk to somebody who's not where we are, you're going to get a different response. And for some people, they end up hospitalized. And we see and hear this all the time. So it's an element of honor what's going on for you, and don't try and make anybody really understand it, because it's only meant really for you to understand.
Right.
Share safely with the people that it may be aligned with, and the ones you're not so sure, keep that to yourself at this particular point until you're more grounded in it. Because if you're not grounded in it, other people's things can start to sway us, right? And start to pull us away from the experience.
So in my training in terms of giving spiritual readings, I have been trained to do past life regressions as well for people. I don't put them into the regression. I go in for them because it can be too traumatizing, as you've mentioned, Pam.
Yeah.
And so I've also had a number of past life regression readings myself, where either I've received information myself or I've had somebody do one or two for me. And what I can say is that my experiences with that energy and that frequency is that it oftentimes, well, certainly for me, has given me so much insight into certain either relationships or patterns that I've carried through from a last life. And I'll give you an example. So the one past life regression that I experienced myself was a lifetime in Japan. I've always had a fascination for Japan, right from a little girl. Mount Fujiyama, even school projects, one of the geography projects was about Japan. Cherry blossoms, we don't have the cherry blossoms here, but in South Africa, just when it's blossom time, I go crazy. And it goes back to that lifetime. And my ex-husband happened to be my brother in that lifetime, very much older than me. Had arguments with the father in that lifetime. And I remember him storming out of the house and leaving me. I was only about 6, and leaving me behind, and I never saw him again. And so that came through in this lifetime as a pattern of abandonment. And then I experienced him. In fact, I did see him twice more. Once was on my wedding day, and I remember sitting on this dais. The father in that lifetime was quite affluent, was very affluent. In fact, was a feudal lord. And I remember sitting on a red and gold cushion on a wedding day with my face painted white with they looked like chopsticks threaded through my hair. And my brother came and wished me well from behind the dais of the curtain, and then he disappeared again. And then the third time was much later on in that lifetime, where my husband and son ended up being killed, because the story that manifested was that that person who ended up being my ex-husband, he pulled away from the family because his views around the feudal life and the serfs and the peasants and the wealthy landowners were very different. And he'd actually fallen in love with one of the so-called peasant or lower caste women. And that was what they'd been arguing about, and that's why he left. And what ended up happening was that my brother and married into that family, and then that family, them and my father and all of his warriors went to war, and my son in that lifetime was killed in that conflict. So all of that stuff came up, and then I understood why that I experienced the marriage that I experienced, because I could see the abandonment patterns from that first lifetime. I could also experience the fact that the connection between my ex-husband and myself, I wouldn't say it was purely platonic, but there was that energy of the brother-sister kind of friendship. We probably should never have gotten married in the first place, but we did, and had 2 beautiful children. But everything just fell away in terms of the understanding that it gave me. So maybe that can help Alana in terms of the colleague you were experiencing, just to share that with her, because that's what, for me, it sheds a whole lot of light on not only karmic implications, but also dharma that we bring into this lifetime as well.
And
And go ahead. Sorry, just
sorry,
one
and
more thing.
more and more people. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Angela.
Just going to say, if anybody's really interested in reading about past lives, the best person to read about is Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters, one of his books. He writes, and he was a psychotherapist who discovered this whole question of past lives in a therapy when he was doing therapy with one of his patients, and then went on to do a whole lot of therapeutic work in the realm of past lives. So Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters, and he's written a few other books as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reference.
I think the difference between right now what's going on is that where we were at, for myself, I mean, I've done past life regressions, and you're absolutely right, Angela. It does help us to bring an awareness to, okay, why we've carried a pattern from a past life into this life. But when you have someone who has just stepped into a place, the discernment is going to be very important. Is it hers, or is she taking on someone else's in that moment? Because there's going to be a lot of energies, especially around that kind of setting. So being there, being able to discern, so anyone that experiences, but it's happening for people where, yes, those moments are just happening. It's not a matter of people are now seeking to do past life regressions. The veils are thinning. This is part of their awakening to have it happen in that fashion. But it's really important. Discernment first, having someone that you can speak to, that can talk about past lives and have an understanding, because not everybody out there believes in it, unfortunately. So it's that feeling safe again within yourself, and then taking and questioning, what is this teaching me? What is this showing me? What can I learn from it? What do I want to do differently moving forward in my life right now based on some of that information that I'm getting? And then being really gentle and loving with yourself in the process.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. I think, and like you said, discerning into it a little bit is definitely part of the process when those types of things happen, because it is, and just from the conversation and what was shared with me, it feels like it might have been just that of like, it's not maybe a pattern or something that they were meant to like learn from specifically, but more around, like you said, in the time, in the space, and we were in a moment of remembrance, right? So, and maybe that was just part of that, the gift that was given of, this is part of the remembrance of like, what if it's just the message of, in this time, especially around Remembrance Day, where we're taking those moments to remember and recalling the wisdom from that time, or the experience, not so much, well, yes, wisdom too, but the experience, so we don't relive these things again. So it's a matter of a message of receivership of, okay, well, how can I bring that message to, or what message am I receiving from it that I need to, maybe not need to, but feeling called to share, or know, or give further information, those types of things. It's more of like create awareness around, versus like needing to teach or needing to speak from that specifically, is kind of the feeling I receive. But
There's also, I mean, it works so differently for so many different people, and different aspects of it. And there's also the tapping into the old consciousness, and the collective consciousness of the war vibration, and kind of coming back into the here and now and going, that's not true. Because for many of us, so if somebody has a birthmark, this is really interesting. I don't know if people know this. Birthmark, it's normally a wound from a battlefield, either of a spear or a something, where, so like if you've got a birthmark on your back, something like that, it's known to be a wound from a previous lifetime. So that's also quite interesting.
I've never understood that or heard that before. That's interesting.
Oh yeah. It's I've worked with a few people that they've been able to look back into a past life, and yes, there was definitely the war wound. One was a native getting a spear in the back of the leg. It's coming into this world and it's interesting because it just landed with me. In a past life, I was in a war and I lost part of my leg, and it's interesting because it's the same leg that I'm having problems with my knee. And I'm
Uh,
like, okay, yes, that's right. That makes sense now. And you just reminded me of that, Angela. So it's like, yes,
yeah.
there are connections and links. And sometimes from that perspective, um, the souls in past lives have to come back in this life to learn lessons from what they have done in the past life. So, an example that was given to me a number of years ago through a native shaman. And this native shaman talked about the addictions on the reserve and how all of the small reserves are just inundated with it. And what she said is that those souls that are experiencing the addictions in this lifetime were the souls who were the oppressors in a previous lifetime. So it really made sense to me, it resonated very deeply that we do have these karmic ties and these lessons or undoings that we have to do or understandings from both ends of the spectrum.
Yep.
So our soul can do more work, right? Even in this lifetime, for myself, I went through being the victim of abuse to becoming an abuser. Like, not to the extreme, but I still did. And it was like, okay, I need to let this relationship go because this is not love. This is not the way it should be. But I also understood that the universe allowed me in one lifetime to experience both ends
Mhm.
on a very conscious level to be able to help other people.
Yep.
But it's that whole element of, yeah, so we do have to experience all aspects of everything.
And we probably have in many, many lifetimes been the robber, being the murderer, being the rapist,
Yes.
being the saint, being the lover, being all those things. We've all experienced that. And it's part of also our own inner unification of the fact that nothing is good or bad,
Yeah.
but that we can have that sense of compassion for ourselves and for one another, for the human condition.
Experiences.
Because uh, I always used to lie like a little girl when I was really little. I used to go, how big must heaven be for all the, because I mean, this is like 4 or 5 years old. How big must heaven be for all the people who've ever lived to be able to live in heaven without the knowing of the reincarnation and all of those things? And it was just kind of, that sense of almost that naive innocence that this lifetime is the only one and is finite. Which is a lot of what the teachings in some of the religions teach.
Mhm.
And I'm not going into debate whether it's good or bad in terms of what other people's belief systems are at all. But it just used to fascinate me as a little girl as to how big heaven must be for all these people to find a place in heaven. And so connecting to the energy of past lives, reincarnation is all part and parcel of. I mean, the Buddha, when he attained enlightenment underneath the Bodhi tree, witnessed 2,000 lifetimes prior to his enlightenment. And again, I have to say to people who are listening, take what you like and leave the rest. If it doesn't
Right.
resonate for you, and all this talk about past
Absolutely.
lives doesn't resonate for you, let
So
it go. Let it go. It's absolutely fine.
I
We're
never,
open to any comments, feedback, questions. Go
100%.
ahead and yeah, leave it there. Leave it on
I
tape.
I love the innocence of the like 4-year-old of that. Like, what a beautiful question. It's something I've never contemplated. Um, but like you said, and even if as and again, we move into the idea of when we're not physically here, we are an energetic essence. So it's like, well, that creates a whole lot more space in my mind. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's like how does that work out? But it's so fun to just, and even if you're not, if it's not, this is may not be your belief, like you said about multiple past lives, and that our energy is linear, or it's not linear, and that it that continues on. But um, just allow yourselves again that innocence and that play of what if it's possible for those. Like I know for myself, I had a huge fear of death. And as soon as I became of this awareness of like, oh, what if we don't end? What if our energetic being continues, even though the physical is gone, the being itself, the awareness that is paying attention to. So if you're not quite there yet, if you notice what like we have thoughts, right? And then and I'm sharing for those that are listening, but we have thoughts, and what notices the thoughts is the awareness, is the essence, is the spirit, is the being. And so when you come through this, like I said, this is where I had a shift from, like, I was terrified of death. And then it's like, oh, well, if I know that essentially nothing ever ends, energy, again, going back to that conversation around we are energetic beings, energy doesn't end. It doesn't disappear. It just continues on it moves in different ways and different frequencies. So it's like letting go of that idea of like, yeah, the physical may end, but I, as an essence, as a spirit as a whole, like don't end. And then it's like, oh, well, the death is just a transition into something else, right? So I just wanted to share that insight or idea. And again, just play with it. Even if it's not something that you believe in, just allow it to be an opportunity to be like, what would that be like? Because for me, it was a game changer. And when I thought about, at the end of this life, then what? Anyway.
Entertain curiosity, just like a
Curiosity is a
child
word.
would, right? Like, I know for myself, Elena, along with what you're saying, is that, yeah, once I mean, I was never really afraid of death, but I didn't grieve the way most people grieve. Like, I didn't break down. I didn't go through, all of those stages that we hear people talk about in this world. And I'm not saying that it's not real, but from my
Mhm.
experience, I just had a different understanding of death. And grief to me was I was being selfish because it was about me wanting them to stay here when it was their time to go on to their next chapter. And understanding that energetically, those people are still connected to me. I still feel them. I still have that understanding that, although the physical body is not here, that they are probably better able to support me in a way, when they're on the other side or when they've transitioned, however you want to say it, as opposed to if they were here, right? Like they taught me a lot of lessons here through a lot of pain and suffering, but they're gonna help me now from the other side, give me the boost, give me more of the wisdom. So it's like I just don't look at it the same way. There isn't that fear. There isn't the grief. I celebrate everybody now. Literally celebrate their life here and encourage people to talk about what they learned through that individual. And yeah, it's a beautiful tram. I've also helped people cross at that last final stage. There's been a few in my life, and it's a beautiful thing to experience.
Mm. And also, the other thing is, I mean, there's so much scientific evidence today that there is life after death, and the very gifted mediums who are able to do crossing overs, where they're able to connect with people from the world of spirit on behalf of others. There's just so much evidence today, and it is scientifically proven. Um, and so the whole world of metaphysics is so interesting, and that is being curious, being in that sense of wonder of what the metaphysical world is going to reveal next. One of my favorite playthings is sacred geometry. It just does my head in. I just love it so much in terms of how the patterns of the universe actually work. So the clues are there for us all over the place.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I can also say to you if you're listening is just be on the alert and sometimes people will say, oh, I've seen this number so many times, like a 1111 or a 222 or a whatever, and it referred oftentimes to as angel numbers.
Yes.
And so being on the alert for things like that you're seeing, it could be the same symbol that you're seeing. Very often you'll see in company logos, you see the cube. The cube is part of platonic solids. And so all of these energies, these frequencies, when we're aware of them, are sharing with us wisdom from the world of spirit. And when we start to play in that space, it's wonderful.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I can actually feel my eyes twinkling.
I love this. I love these conversations for the awareness, the growth, the opportunity to just play and experiment with what comes up. And like I said, that inspiration of it all.
I
Like he would.
absolutely love that aspect of it. Like, there's nothing scripted ever when we're coming on. And, I love the whole idea of being divinely guided through our conversation. Whatever information comes through us is needed to come through us. And again, people take what works and leave the rest behind. It doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means you're going to have an experience that will bring it more into your awareness. If you get caught up in judgment, sometimes just taking a step back and going, what am I gaining by judging? I know I've been there, and I'm sure, you guys have been there too. It's that element of that's part of our human experience. But what
Yeah.
am I gaining by being in that judgment? Is it blocking me from something? Am I preventing myself from stepping into who I'm meant to be? There's so many reasons that we would do it. And for everybody, it's as unique and as different as you are. So, ask those questions to yourself. It's not about someone else giving you the answer. You already have the answer within you. And so it's being able to just ask the questions that, elicit some thought and some stillness. Sit in some stillness with the questions.
And notice
Yeah.
when you feel truth. Like Pam says it all the time about our truth bumps. When you have that feeling come in your body when something's shared or said, that it's like, oh, that feels right. That feels good for me. Because everyone has our own, again, our own inner wisdom, but our own inner truth of what we believe. And so even if it's something you may have not have heard before or experienced before, or even has ever crossed your awareness before, it comes across for you for a reason. And even curiosity, that's why we keep saying the word curiosity, because that's the leading edge of your awareness, is that curiosity. So pay attention to it. But just allow that truth to come in. That's where I don't know how many times I've been like, since I've started this journey, I've been like, read something or hear something and be like, oh my gosh, that just blew my mind, because I didn't have that awareness before, but it feels so true for me. Right. So that's just feel into that as well. Sorry, Angela, you were going to say something there too.
I was going to, well, two things. So one thing is just coming back to that's what resonance is all about.
Yeah.
My word for the week.
Mm.
And secondly, I was going to ask you, Pam, where are we with the video? Are we being broadcast on
On
are the
Rogers?
shows live? Yeah, are the shows live? I don't know. I wouldn't know because I'm
Yeah.
sitting in South Africa, so I have no idea.
Yes, we were bi-weekly, and I just received an email that's going to weekly because we have enough content.
Woo!
Because what?
Yay!
Because we have more than enough content right now. So
Fabulous.
we've built up in a file. I've submitted everything to him with the little blurb. And so, yeah, he just reached out actually just before this call. And
Yay!
that it's going weekly.
Yay!
It is actually going weekly now. So
Celebrating.
Has there been any feedback that have come from them in terms of how
not
it
as of yet,
landed?
but I will be seeing next week. I'm speaking on Georgina Life. So I will talk with Jeremiah on that day. I'll see him in person. So I'll see if there's any kind of feedback from him. Oh, yeah.
So
And
spread the
speaking of
word.
feedback,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, speaking of feedback, we would love to hear if you guys, anybody that's listening, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or things because like Pam mentioned earlier, we come in here, we're unscripted, and we would talk about whatever kind of shows up for us. If there's anything that's showing up for you, like I said, my colleague kind of reached out and had some questions. Feel free to drop questions, drop things that you wanted us to share or share some wisdom on or our own thoughts on. We're more than happy to chat a little further about what you're curious about, what you would love to know more on, and get a little more depth into that. So we would love that feedback.
And for anyone who's watching on Rogers, even if you email the station, email the producer, and you can certainly come to our YouTube page and leave questions and comments there as well, because we're happy to do that. But if anybody through Rogers, you want to connect with Rogers, by all means do so. And that information I'm sure will get to me as well. So very exciting times to share this.
So I was just thinking that a really, really cool title for what we're doing is Unscripted.
Yeah.
That's a stunning title. So yeah.
Yeah.
And Janice, the fourth leg of our table, is on her way to Spain today.
Yes.
We wish her well on her trip to Spain.
Excited to hear what she's coming back with, for sure.
Mhm.
She's going to be working with working with spiritual art in Spain. I mean, what a wonderful
Yeah.
trip.
Yes,
Amazing.
so
Our retreat, I think it's going to be so beautiful to hear what she has to share from her experience. What else is going on with you ladies before we end our day?
I am in the process of publishing children's books. I'm hoping they're gonna be out and ready to go, before Christmas.
Hey, oh, those would be great
So
Christmas presents.
yeah, so I'm really, really excited about that, and because they're spirit driven, I guess is the best way to put it. So it's light within, nightly conversations. So a little girl with a light within about healing, and the nightly conversations is about a little boy who's connecting with spirit at nighttime. There's a safety element in the processes of the book as well. Um, a little girl who lost her grandmother and wants to remember her grandmother in a good way,
Oh,
with the laughter. So she brings in, it's called One Last Game, to bring the family together. And when they're laughing, their grandmother's going to be laughing with them, kind of thing. So really cool messaging. And then Cecil, Spark of Hope, is their insects, and Cecil's a firefly whose light's a little dim. And
Uh-huh.
he's learning about empathy, compassion, kindness, because he felt invisible because he had a sibling born. And so family being busy, started to be mean with his friends. Another firefly kind of takes him under his wing because he sees what he's doing and can see that he's in pain, and teaches him about kindness, and his light will shine brighter and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, really, really
Cool. Very
cool
cool.
messaging for
oh, that's so
children today.
beautiful.
And I've had people go, well, I don't care if they're for kids, I'll read them.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, these sound so cute. I want to hear them. I want to see them. I've seen you've dropped us some really cute, like some of the free sneak peeks and stuff. So it's been so fun. I'm excited to get my hands on them.
So
I have a
yeah.
grandson I need to hand those off to too.
So doing
So
that, and
Angela?
for me this week, I'm going to be opening up Circles of Truth. I've had 2 lots where I've run invitations. The feedback is already just mind blowing in terms of just the initial invitation conversation. So I open that up on Wednesday, where it's a limited, when I say limited membership thing, limited as in the number of months that people end up contributing energy exchange to, and then they can stay in the field for as long as they like. So that's happening on Wednesday. I'm gearing up to put together, well, it's done already, but to run the artificial intelligence, which is called Amplified Intuition workshop at the end of the month, on how to use AI from an intuitive point of view and how it amplifies our energy. So that's very cool. I'm very excited about that. And then, yeah, just slowly but surely starting to gear up to launch Business Yogi full on in January. So, yeah, lots ahead, lots of work to be done. Very excited about Business Yogi. It's blowing my mind, let alone anything else that it's going to do for others. It's the impact that it's had on me personally has been incredible. And I guess
awesome.
that's, one
Alignment.
of the things, it's one of the things that when we're bringing this work through ourselves, the authenticity comes from the fact that we've done the work ourselves as we creating it.
Exactly.
And that's so key and so important. So keep critical faculties alive, be discerning as to what you allow into your space, what's flowing and is ease. And Pam often talks about ease and grace. That's where your resonance sits, as opposed to trying to push a boulder up a hill. So that's my message for the week.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and
And what's going on with you?
Yeah, what's happening in your space?
I just did last night, and I'm doing a few more virtually and in person, just an introduction to Reiki energy. And it's specific to Reiki because that's my modality, that's my practice, that it's in my wheelhouse and background. But it's connecting to energy. And like we were talking about this energetic health, it's like this has come through so strongly for me lately, is that we don't pay enough attention to our energetic health. So that's what we're talking about in these sessions, is diving into a little more of what that looks like, how we can be a little more, again, discerning. How can we support ourselves in better ways? And then giving people an experience of what that would look like, whether it's Reiki, we do a little bit of a demo for those that haven't experienced it and are just opening up to it. So I'm having so much fun with that, just being able to give people an opportunity to feel into what we've been talking about, and be able to feel into the energy that they already have within them so that they can start recognizing it within themselves. So whether it's like self Reiki or just setting energetic intention, paying attention to the energies around us, like all of those things, it's been so fun.
That is
So,
awesome.
more of those to come between now and Christmas, just one of those light and easy things.
That is awesome, Milena. I know,
Absolutely.
I forgot to share that I'm actually in the process. In January, I will be launching my new website. I will be launching a membership program where we get to meet twice a month in a group to go through the point of awareness method.
Fantastic. Oh,
Fabulous.
exciting.
Fabulous. Lots and lots of things happening. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Awesome. Well, ladies, this has been so beautiful.
Always.
Always. I love you guys so much.
Mhm.
It's incredible. So, to those of you out there, thank you everyone for joining us here. As this circle closes for now, the light remains, not just here, but within you. Let these teachings echo through your being like a lighthouse calls over the sea, steady, unwavering, and sovereign. Share what's touched your soul. Subscribe if you feel the call at YouTube. And always remember, you are the light, you are the way, and the circle will be here when you need to return.
Mhm. Amazing.
Namaste, everybody. Have a great
Namaste.
week. Have a beautiful week.